request as the national office bearers. We communicated with the National Executive Committee. We agreed that can we practicalize the song? Otherwise, I would have sang it, but because there's President Makwaiba here who warned me that he shall not accept a secretary singing in his presence. So that's why I can't sing. But I would have wished to sing that song. Uthi kuyoba mnandi masihleli sonke makomanisi, reflecting to the road that we traveled, protect the gains that we have achieved, share the challenges that we went through, but draw strength from both the gains and challenges and be inspired as we pursue and advance socialism, because there's no other alternative to capitalism as a system other than socialism. It is precisely this reason, therefore, President, that we felt that on the second day of the National Congress, we must converge here and ask the leadership of the vanguard to be with us this evening and listen to them as we celebrate the strides that have been achieved, but also learn from the sharing that we expect to be done by the General Secretary of the party, so that some of the critical experiences and history can find expression in the discussions of tomorrow as we are shaping the way forward. Because as now, General Secretary of the Communist Party, we are refusing to accept the National Democratic Revolution in a current form, because the current form does not represent the interest of the working class. And it is for this reason that as we leave this Congress, we will want to make a call to the working class and the vanguard in ensuring its hegemony, and also ensuring that it's at the helm for this national democratic revolution, so that we can then regard, once the hegemony of the working class is realized in the national democratic revolution, as a direct route to socialism. That's the point that we want to make. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you very much, Nopala. We're supposed to be receiving inputs or addresses from our diplomats. There are 4. I have not been given their names, and I've been waiting. I hope can be assisted, comrades. Okay. Thank you very much. We will start with the Comrade Charge, Comrade Bassam, LOSIM, the Embassy of Palestine, as the first speaker. We'll ask that all our speakers, there are 4, if they were to speak for 10 minutes, we'll be here for 40 minutes. So we're asking them to at least be 5 minutes each. Comrade Bassam.
Good evening, comrades. Viva South Africa, viva. Viva. Long live, ni hao, long live. Comrades, on behalf of the Palestinian people, as leadership, Palestinian General Federation of Trade of Unions, and the ambassador, allow me to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to South African people, government, progressive forces, and unions for their unwavering support and solidarity with our people in their legitimate struggle for freedom. South Africa's solid position of support plays significant role in enhancing the chance of achieving a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace that we will see in the end of the Israeli occupation and the establishment of independence of Palestinian state with the East Jerusalem as capital. Comrade, we extend our warmest congratulations to Nihau on the occasion of 12th National Congress and is proud to be represented here today and offer our well wishes as you also celebrate the centenary of Communist Party. As you set about in assessing the progress you have made in the implementing progress made since your 2017 Congress, we are heartened that your support for Palestinian struggle will be among these reflections. We pay tribute to all the gallant founders, all generation of leaders and members who contributed in building this giant organization. We salute the role played by the Union in both international, domestic, in support our struggle for free Palestine and walk side by side with us in this journey of freedom. Comrade, the Israeli human rights organization Bet Salem issued a report this year, its name between the brackets, a regime of Jewish supremacy from the Jordan River to a Mediterranean Sea. This is apartheid, the close of brackets. The report confirmed that Israel is a apartheid state not only in West Bank and Gaza Strip, but in all the historical Palestinian land, and not against our people only, but against their citizens. You can now imagine the magnitude of the suffering of Palestinians from the discrimination. We believe that the international community are urgently asked to take serious and quick move to stop the Israeli aggression and its war crimes, to impose sanctions on Israel, including boycotting the settlement in all the world, as will all the countries which their citizens hold Israeli nationality must be prevented from joining the Israeli army. Also, Israel should be face the international arms embargo. The Israeli war's criminal must be prosecuted at the International Criminal Court. Thank you. Long live Nihau, long live.
Thank you very much, Comrade Hassan. We're now calling the Deputy Head of Africa Affairs of Venezuela, Comrade Amber Chan. Indeed.
Good evening. How are you? Thank you. I appreciate your patience. I'm a little bit nervous, but I am here with you. Good evening, dear comrades. I appreciate your invitation to the celebration of the 12th National Congress of NEHABO and the 100 years for SACP. Unfortunately, the Ambassador Mayrin Moreno couldn't attend today's event. She has, however, delegated to me the responsibility of conveying to you this message on behalf of the Venezuelan people and our President Nicolás Maduro Moros. We take this opportunity to express once again our solidarity and support for NEHABO, which has always been at the forefront in the defense of worker rights. We also want to express our gratitude for the support that you have always showed the Bolivarian Revolution and to the people of Venezuela. Because in the most difficult moments, you have always been with us. We want to express our desire to continue working in the struggle for the worker rights, in defense of the people of the world and their right to the self-determination, against imperialism and capitalism. It is known to all of you that in the last years, Venezuela has been besieged by Yankee imperialism. And despite the attacks, the blockade, and the unilateral coercive measures that have directly affected the Venezuelan people, the truth always comes out. The most recent case is about our diplomat colleague, Alex Saab, who was illegally detained in Cape Verde, unfortunately, with the support of the Cape Verdean government in that time. The US government managed to transfer him to their country in what we denounce as a kidnapping and not an extradition, as they say. This happened just 2 days before the Cape Verde election, in which the president lost. We take this opportunity to thank the people of Cape Verde and all the people of Africa for the support they have given us, especially during that incident. We want to let you know that despite everything, the Venezuelan people continue in the struggle, and we will demonstrate it once again in our next election on the 21st of November. This election is the 25th during the 21 years of the revolution, making our democratic spirit clear with the participation of the people. We invite the world to follow our process to confirm it. Last but not least, we would like to congratulate the South African people for expressing their democratic rights through their participation in the recent electoral process on November 1st. Long live NEHABO. Long live Venezuela. Long live SACP. Thank you, comrades.
Thank you very much. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, now calling the Embassy of Cuba, that is in charge of the African affairs. Comrade Anna, please come forward.
Hi, good evening, comrades. Dear Comrade Mike, Comrade Sola Zapeta, Comrade Blaine Simandi, and all comrades from NEHAO. First of all, I would like to thank on behalf of the Cuban people and the government, and also the leadership of the member of NEHAO for inviting Cuba to be present in this important Congress. We wish you every success in your deliberations and resolutions that you will adopt, and for sure will enrich your strategic policy perspective. I take also this opportunity to reiterate to the South African Communist Party another hundreds of years defending socialism and also the just cause of the working class. Dear comrades and friends, allow me to make some comments on the current international situation that I will just mention a few statistics. 815 million persons in the world suffer today from chronic hunger, 10 of millions more than in 2015. Every day, 18,000 children die of poverty, and 760 million adults are illiteracy. There are 22.5 million refugees in the world. Inequalities are huge. 80% of the world population owns only 6% of all the richness, while the richest 100% enjoy half of the planet's patrimony. The turnover of the world's 10 largest corporations is higher than the public revenues earned by 100 countries combined. Not to mention the impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought to the poor and developing countries. Let's just look at the unequal access to vaccines that countries have had in the world. Their capacity of develop their own vaccines because of the big transnational own all resources and patterns. Unilateral military interventions against sovereign countries are more and more frequent without the consequences for the perpetrators. The law of the jungle is being imposed in the world where the interest of the most powerful state would always prevail to the detriment of the most vulnerable. We should act together in solidarity. In isolation, comrades, we will be swallowed by the strength of the powerful. That's why are so important the Congress like this, in which international solidarity is promoted. Dear comrades, in our region, Latin America and the Caribbean, we are living dangerous times. The US government has announced and is very aggressively implementing a regime change policy in Cuba. The euphoria in our enemies resurfaces in their attempts to destroy the example of Cuba. On Sunday 11, as you may know, disorders occurred in Cuba in some localities, including acts of vandalism by criminal elements against some institutions. It was not a reflection of the social outbreak in Cuba. Cuba was victim again of the political communication operation orchestrated by the United States government. It's part of the fourth generation war that the United States has rehearsed against Cuba and that does not need missiles of Marines. It is an unconventional war designed in which imperialism has worked for a long time. Dear comrades, our decision to defend our national independence and to support the struggles of other countries has come with a cost. United States hostility against the Cuban Revolution is a part of the punishment for our solidarity with the liberation struggles of Africa and Latin America. Since 1960, Cuba has suffered from criminal, unilateral, and illegal economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the United States. It is the longest blockade ever recorded in history. The blockade not only caused a lot of harm and scarcities to the Cuban people, it is also the main obstacle for the development of our economy. President Biden has decided to strengthen even more the blockade and the hostility against Cuba, but he will fail, as it was the case with the previous 11 US administrations that tried to defeat the Cuban Revolution. The imperialists will always try to neutralize and isolate those who challenge them and defend sovereignty and the interests of the working class. That's why it's important to act together. As your beautiful slogan says, "A injury to one is an injury to all," deepening revolutionary and working class solidarity across the world is an urgent imperative, comrades. As we build a new society based on human solidarity in our own country, the Cuban people, despite all the scarcities and difficulties derived from the criminal blockade, will continuously, selflessly sharing what it has with other countries. Cuban international cooperation workers are present in all continents. 46,000 of them are currently working in 61 nations, the highest part of them as medical doctors, with a great presence in Africa, including in South Africa. Thousands of young people of many developing countries are being trained as medical doctors in Cuba. More than 6 specialized brigades of the Cuban Henry Reef Brigade has been deployed in Africa to contribute with national efforts against COVID-19. There is an African saying according to which, and I quote, "The footprint of the people that work together can never be erased." The deep and special relationship between Cuba and Africa was cemented by the blood of heroic Cuban soldiers who paid their supreme sacrifice for the belief in anti-imperialism, anti-apartheid, freedom, and justice. South Africa will always count and have a special place in our hearts. And it's important that you don't underestimate the relevance of your own process in South Africa for the whole world, particularly for the countries to the south and the working class. A successful South Africa, after many terrible years of colonization and apartheid, will reinforce humanity's belief in justice, will strengthen the hopes and our hope of the better future for all. Let me conclude, dear comrades, by expressing once again, on behalf of the people and government of Cuba, our deep appreciation to each and every member of NEHAW for your firm and permanent support and solidarity with the Cuban Revolution. The people of Cuba will forever be thankful to you for your sustained demand to the end of the blockade that our country is enduring, for your support in the struggle for the release of the Cuban anti-terrorist Cuban heroes, for your support for the return to the territory of the Guantanamo naval base in Cuba, which continue to be illegally occupied by the United States. All those are only few examples. We know we can count on you, and you can always count on Cuba. We would never thank you enough for being always part of our fight for the better world. Long live NEHAW, long live South African Communist Party, long live. Thank you so much, comrade. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, comrades, coming back home, we want to call the most famous taxi driver of South Africa, the president of Orlando Pirates Supporters Club, the general secretary of the Congress of South African Trade Union, our own tiger, the real tiger, in fact, Ubra Tiger, Comrade Pegin Challenger.
Amandla, I hope, Comrade President, this engagement is not online. Otherwise, they will know at home that now I'm become a tiger in these meetings. And they will never allow me to attend evening sessions. Let me also indicate, comrades, that when delegates were coming to this house and they were drinking some drinks in the small glasses, and there were complaints that it seems not to be strong enough. And then I asked the General Secretary of NEHAW why is the case, and he said, the delegates should not worry. The reasons you are getting the non-alcoholic one is because you still have to vote, and they are worried that should you be high, you may vote wrongly in dealing with these issues. Comrade Program Director and Comrade Makwaiba and the Nihau Collective Leadership, the General Secretary of WAFTU, Comrade George Mavrikos, the members of Nihau Central Committees, the leaders of the of the party and the Central Committee led by General Secretary Comrade Nzimande, Ipakaneli Mnyama, you don't hide that one, the mighty Orlando Pirates. Comrade Zingi Swalosi, the president of COSATU, and the members of the CEC present, our friends internationally from the Palestine, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Cuba, and Western Sahara. The leadership of the ANC, we hope, I saw that the real tiger was here during the day. I'm not sure whether he's still around in this meeting. Comrade friends and delegates, I'm happy to join you in reflecting and celebrating the centenary of the party. Again, let me extend our earnest congratulations to all party members on behalf of the CEC of the Federation. But let me make a disclaimer, comrade, that the comments I will be making are just a contribution to the debate. They may not be correct and they still may be contested. It's just a contribution. Our president does not know what I'm going to say. We did not share the speech with my president. I asked Comrade Blade why the Nihau wanted me to be the one who speak here in the presence of my president. They say it has to do with age, Comrade Magwaiba, that you can't be less than half the age of the party and speak about the party. You should be above at least so that you can say something about. So it is only on those conditions. The story of the liberation of South Africa cannot be fully told without mentioning the SACP. To free South Africa from the shackles of apartheid and colonialism, the SACP led from the front. It was able to offer a broad and all-encompassing vision of the future and presented what we regarded at that time as innovative and bold ideas that shaped the struggles against apartheid. These ideas challenge not just racism, but tribalism, patriarchy, regionalism, and narrow nationalism. Of course, the party was well placed to offer this guidance because it has struggled with its own contradiction when it used to be the Communist Party of South Africa. At that time, dominated by white members in its action and were focusing mainly on white working class interest. The notorious 1922 strike on the Witwatersrand, where the CPSA members used the slogan, "Workers of the world unite to fight for a white South Africa," was an episode that profoundly changed both the party and the country. It was out of that episode that the party had a moment of reflection and learned lesson about itself and the country it was part of. This triggered the change and led the party becoming the real vanguard of South African working class. This journey also ensured that it was well prepared for the challenges that were going to come on its way forward. This history, comrade, is important because today we talk about the political self-correction, but the party invented this concept through solid action and not speeches and proclamation. Without that political self-correction, the South African history will not be the same. The party was keen in the development and adoption of the Freedom Charter in 1955, the formation of Umkhonto weSizwe in 1961, and its acceptance of the negotiated settlement after its 7th Congress held in June 1989 in Havana, Cuba, which led to the 1994 democratic breakthrough. This momentous occasion greatly influenced and shaped the struggle against apartheid and laid a foundation for the South Africa we have today. So as we celebrate this centenary, we must remember that both independently and through its economic role, influencing the mass formation and the ANC itself, the SACP has undoubtedly earned its mantle of vanguard party of the working class in South Africa. Along the way, the SAC produced the greatest stalwart and communist, who by virtue of their work status and depth of their contribution to the class struggle, gained the confidence of the organized component of the working class that came to be organized under SACP, FOSATU, and ultimately COSATU. So we are proud of the legendary history we have and still share with the SACP, and together we have constituted the left axis of the glorious tripartite alliance, which has been the primary force of the NDR in our country. Fast forward, this brings us to the last 27 years under the democratic dispensation. Since the 1994 democratic breakthrough, the social position of the working class has not dramatically changed for better. Apartheid separate development persists. Our people are still trapped in poorly serviced township, waiting for the handout because of lack of economic transformation, while all of our working class formation has been powerless in defending the class against the onslaught of capitalists. Unemployment, poverty, and inequality has increased. This is not to deny, comrade, that some progress has been made, like the improvement when it comes to the access of housing, water, electricity, free education, etc. In fact, life is better now than the pre-1994. During this period, comrade, the party has again led from the front in many important campaigns, like the fight against gear, the financial sector transformation campaign, the anti-privatization campaign, and others. The SACP has also been a torchbearer in fight against the state capture and corruption, and has clearly spoken out against those who conceal their personal self-enrichment agendas behind authentic appeals to black and economic empowerment. It has also come out in support of many of our strikes over the years. But on reflection, the SACP medium-term vision outlined the key task for the party as building working-class hegemony in all strategic sites of political power, including the state, amongst the working-class community. And Pepete, we normally quote you what you said sometimes. So we want to quote you again what you may say. You said in your 8th National Congress. You said this, Comrade Blade. You said, unless the working class leads, working programmatically and in action with the widest range of the mass of the urban and rural poor, unless this is done, the promise of 1994 will collapse into agendas of narrow self-enrichment and general confusion. The SACP is prepared to work with all potential patriotic and progressive forces. But one thing is clear, the bourgeoisie and the emergence bourgeoisie, separate and together, are incapable of charting a way out of the persisting crisis of underdevelopment. The working class, as you conclude, you said the working class must lead, end quote. Now, the question that we need to be engaging on as we're going to be debating in our congresses, in our commission, is whether the working class is leading, and if not, why? What we know is that the membership of the party has grown over the last 2 decades. At the same time, the SACP has found itself unable to intervene in a series of militant and sometimes misguided violent protest action in the community. We said this many times with Comrade Esoli, another Pakaneya. On more than one occasion, over the last 2 decades, both COSATU and the SACP has complained about becoming marginalized in the ANC and in the government agenda. How is this possible, comrade? Considering that almost all the party senior leadership, especially at the national level, but also in provinces, have been deployed in government and holding senior critical position of influence. This question should also be extended to COSATU and affiliates. Frankly speaking, party and COSATU combined are well represented in the ANC-led government. In 1994, comrade, as we might remember ourselves, COSATU alone deployed their most senior leaders to the ANC-led government. In fact, we deployed 20 people, including our General Secretary, Comrade Jay, and others. The best cream we could have, we deploy to the ANC-led government. The ANC in return, they deploy them in senior position. One of the ministers was a minister without portfolio, which is equivalent to the prime minister in our view, or advisor to the president. In addition, comrade, COSATU has deployed 3 of the ANC secretary generals. 3 of them. In fact, from 1990, was it 1991? I can't remember, Comrade Play. 91. The general secretary come from here. The one after that come from here. The third one, only the last one, regrettably, is not coming from us, from here. Let me say from here. Now, 2 of the state presidents were coming from the trade unions. 2. Now, 2 of the ministers of finance, I think the worst portfolio we hate as a trade union is treasury. But 2 of them, one was coming from the Communist Party, Comrade Praveen. Now the other one, Comrade Kotongwane, is coming from here. 3 of the ministers of labor, 3 of them, are coming from the trade unions. Umdladlana, Oliphant, now Tulas. In Netlek, one of the institutions that deals with the socio-economic issues, all of them, comrade, from Unaidu, from Sakau, and from Sakau, Umkize Herbert from Sakau, Dexter from Nihau, Smith from NUMSA, Vlagas from NUM, and Ulisa from COSATU. In the education sector, both the sectors that we have, one is coming from the party, and one, Comrade Ange, is from the trade union. In the trade and industry, the minister is coming from COSATU, the deputy is coming from the party. Comrade Slovo.
The two deputies.
Or the two deputies are coming from us.
Yes.
You see? In the mineral and energy, the minister is coming from us. So there are many questions that, comrade, that members of both COSATU and the party are asking us as their leaders. When it suits us, comrade, as leaders, when things are good, we don't forget that we are in the alliance and the ruling alliance. We say so. But when decisions are taken against members, people are asking us many difficult questions. They ask us, comrade, we are represented, both the party and COSATU were represented in cabinet. So they ask us, where were you when the decision not to honor the 2018 resolution was taken? They ask us, were you not in cabinet? We said, we're there. They said, okay, you were there. Then they continue ask another question. Where were you when the cabinet took a decision to freeze wages for the public sector for 3 years? Where were you when the cabinet decided not to put money in the state-owned enterprise and putting the part towards privatization? We were there. We're trying to raise these questions, comrade, so that when we engage, we understand the contradictions that exist. And we said in the COSATU, in one of the CC, when we're doing the balances of forces, one of the issues that we're talking about was that sometimes attacking the ministers and the deployees, we're not doing the right analysis. We must look down and say, who elects governments in the world? Because we know that the poor party, for God's sake, if you stand for election, you are not going to even have posters. So you need to then find a sponsor to fund. In other words, the sponsor will elect governments. That's the conclusion of the COSATU people, that imperialists elect democratic governments. And we need to engage, because if we don't address that one, we're going to fight against one another. When the House, sometimes we're very angry with Pravin, maybe because he was once an employer at SARS. We asked them, if we remove Pravin, and the ANC asked us, who do you want to be the Minister of Finance? We said we will not be able to nominate anyone. I think if we have come to you, Comrade Blade will refuse to head Treasury, because the institution is so crafted that it doesn't matter who becomes the minister. As soon as you are going to be elected, your first brief will be the IMF. I think they will phone you the same night. Congratulations, but remember, you owe us so much. Don't forget about that. If you say no, the rand will respond. And then we will have then to review that decision very quick in dealing with those issues. So we're raising these issues of contradiction and the difficulties that we have. That is not about just changing the minister. It's the fundamental issue that we must debate and engage on, because the party can't engage in the battles that they will not win. They have to do a proper assessment. But the point I'm making here, comrade, is that if you compare to the world and you compare the South African way, COSATU and the party, comrade, are well represented in government. And the issue is that how do we use that influence? Of course, comrade, if we don't have the support from our members, the representation of the individual there, comrade, means nothing. Now, one of the glaring mistakes that we have been made has been the tendency to reduce the perspective of building working class hegemony to lobbying in boardrooms at the expense of building combative organization on the ground. The narrow and unbalanced palace politics, as Comrade Blade used to call them, has weakened our organizational capacity to have an impact on the political terrain. Since the SACP is our vanguard, we have the responsibility to assess the decision adopted more than a decade ago to full-time deployment of the party leadership at the national and provincial local government. Comrade Makwaibe have raised these issues of funding the party, that there is no other people are going to fund the party that stand for socialism. No one, comrade, except ourselves if we take the decision. I have also just, comrade, just to indicate our power, the COSATU and the party. You know, when judges in South Africa are appointed, the labor court judges, COSATU is one of the organizations that sit in the interviews to appoint the judges, the labor court judges. In appointing the CCMA director, the current one is coming from Nehau, comrade, Advocate Morejane. Me and Comrade Soli, we sit in the deployment committee. Where is Africa? We sit there in dealing with those issues. It's a huge power that we can have. And I don't know whether there are any other government where the Communist Party and the trade union will sit in the deployment. Despite that, comrade, there are difficulties that we must engage to change the balances. Now, I was looking at the current cabinet, Comrade Tulas, Comrade Blade, Comrade Cyril, the late Comrade Jackson Tembu, Patel, A.N.G., Gungubele, Nxesi, Mantashe, Pravin. They are all coming to us combined, and there are many. If you go to the deputy minister, you go to Slovo, you go to Stumo, you go to Buti Manamela, they are all coming here from these two organizations. So we do have power, comrade. The question is how we are going to utilize it to the benefit of our members in a bigger way. So the chief task of the party is to build organizational capacity among the working class. Now, I know, comrade, I've taken too much of your time. What is our social theory of the alternative economy to challenge this market system? Why have we failed to create our organs of the working class power and collective forms of ownership? The issue that Comrade Blade, you never finish your speech without talking about cooperatives, but don't do it today. So why the working class has failed to assert its self-ideology and through practical organizational and political programs. So, comrade, because of time, let me take this opportunity against one more. And it says we must learn, and we think the party should learn from the Soviet Union, Comrade President, that you were saying. In the last day of the Soviet Unions, they were only celebrating anniversaries. You see them display power on the May Day. You see them celebrating anniversaries. We don't want our Communist Party to celebrate the past only, because the past, is gone. We want them to come here and criticize it as openly where we were lacking, but equally to criticize with the intention to build, and will do the same, because we are the only future, comrade, that our members will depend on us. They hate to see us fighting over what Comrade Braid call it, petty irritations. I think we are growing out, over that, and we need to be making a contribution. So thank you very much to the leadership of NEHAW. I must say this thing, Comrade President, that we appreciate your leadership up to this stage. And we hope NEHAW does not name any building after you, and when you change, they remove like they did with Mayegiso. So they must accept you as you are. I must appreciate, comrade, on behalf of the office bearers, the attendance of former NEHAW leaders, Comrade Plate. I must say this. I have never attended any congress of any unions where almost all their former leaders who are still alive attend the conference. In these conferences, I think there were 3 former presidents, 4 general secretaries and their deputies. It doesn't happen, comrade. When others have left the trade union, either they try to rule from the grave. When they are told that, no, you have your time, they speak bad of the organization. They sing the song, in our time, it was not like this. So thank you very much for the leaders who came and be gracing this occasion. And we think, comrade, they will not stop, even when there are difficult times. So thank you very much for listening, comrade. Amandla.
And then thank you very much, our real tiger, and I'm sure Mpepeta Williams. When we celebrate, we trace the history, their contribution and our role, and advices as we move forward. We want to call the president of WFTU to the stage to introduce the speaker from WFTU who will be connecting to us via the visual platform. Present.
Because I was trying to jute somebody, and I'm told that this person I was juting refused. So when I get down to this platform, I'm going to ask him why is he refused even instruction? Comrade, I'm asked to introduce the comrade that you know in how very well. A chop squad that comes from the steel industry in a small country called Greece, who have some stage became a member of parliament, who was also a party bureau member of the Communist Party of Greece called Kaka, who was tasked by Kaka at some stage to lead and focus into building trade union in Greece, was identified by one old comrade in India and was elected in a Congress of WFTU in Cuba, in Havana, to lead the World Federation of Trade Union. One of the comrades who helped us to defend the call to wind WFTU in a Congress in Syria, that WFTU today would not be existing. As we speak, he has led the WFTU together with comrade Azuz, who based in Syria. I'm told now that he's a general secretary and is together with a comrade who comes from South Africa, who's the WFTU president. This comrade, we met in a Congress officially for the first time in Greece, and he said to us, we must have a presidential council in South Africa and introduce the World Federation of Trade Union to its members and its leadership that is in South Africa. Very surprised that he knew most of the leadership of the COSATU predecessor. And this is Comrade George Mavrikos, who must address us through visual from Greece. And welcome, Comrade Nobala, and welcome, Comrade JS. I know you said to Anda, you want me to sing for you or ask the Congress to sing. We will sing for you when you address the Congress tomorrow at the Congress. At the present moment, you must address the centenary celebration of the South African Communist Party here and where we are. Thank you very much.
You are a health union, but you are not spraying here. We're tired of those things. You are not spraying here, but comrades, can we ascertain if the General Secretary has been connected? Comrade Anton? GS of now? Can you assist us to locate the GS of WAFT? Okay. Please put them on the platform.
Buya sizela kodwa ngithi. Sesiyathutha.
Comrades, apparently the GS is struggling to unmute the video, but they are trying to help him. But I was saying that perhaps we can ask him to speak in the meantime, because if we can hear him, that's better than sitting and watching a blank screen. Comrade Lucian, if you can ask him to test if we can hear him, we'll rather listen to him than not hearing him at all.